A few years ago, this timber greenhouse stood in the garden of the small loft workshop, and due to a lucky break we managed to get it a ride free of charge down to the site of workshop 2. Over the last few years my wife has sanded it and painted it and restored it till it's better than new. Now when we first brought it here we did get a little excited and build a timber base for it, which by now has rotted away. But we have spent a lot of time conditioning the soil here, so we want to maintain this location. During my stay this Easter, it was also my wife's birthday, and when I asked her what she wanted for her birthday, she said the greenhouse erecting. So the pressure was on to complete this project in the short period of time I had here. But the first task was to remove the old base and then install a new one, but this time it was going to be concrete, but I was going to need a mould. The timber that I'd removed from the decking where the new terrace build is taking place still had at least one waltz left in it, so this is what I used to make the mould. The old joist was cut to length of the inside dimension and joined together with brackets so I could release it easily later on in the build. This was then levelled and old decking boards used to form the rest of the formwork inside. I used more decking boards across a diagonal, first to keep it square, but secondly to hang the outside mould on, again made from the joists. And then once levelled, concreting could commence. Please note my wife on the mixer in the distance. She does a great job keeping me busy with the wheelbarrow. The mould is an inverted T-shape, so the concrete is much thicker at the base and ran about 5 inch wide at the top. Once the mould was filled halfway, I then inserted some 8mm rebar into the mix, and then continued to fill the moulds until they were full to the top. Floated off the top and created a bevel on the edge. The concrete was left to set for 3 days, and then I removed all the mould work, finally giving the concrete a sweep. Right, the last day of my holidays, let's get this greenhouse erected. This is a 2-person job. My wife doesn't really like to be on my videos, however she was so excited with this stage she couldn't help it. The front, rear and 2 sides I just screwed together. I'm using decking screws here. Note my new €2 clamps. And whilst I was screwing this together, Gracie uncovered this toad hiding under where the greenhouse had been stored. So I put it out of harm's way and Gracie spent the rest of the afternoon wondering where I'd put it. For now I'm leaving the inside timber mould in place. This is so I could fix the greenhouse to it because I was concerned the concrete may be too green to drill it at this point. The next stage is to fit one of the roof panels. Once the roof panel is on and securely fixed, then the ridge board can be fixed, which connects the 2 roofing panels together. At this point it's slightly awkward to access the ridge. It would have been far better to access it from the inside, but I didn't want to trample all over the crops that was already growing. Here I'm fitting the ridge in 2 parts. When it was new the ridge was a single part, but unfortunately it got broken in 2 when we hastily demolished the greenhouse when we had the offer of the transportation all those years ago. Lynn was very keen to give me an helping hand down the ladder. Once the roof panels and ridge board are fitted, there is a triangular fillet that fits inside the roof. Tie it all together and further strengthen the construction. Right, let's fit the perspex glazing. Or, in other words, how many times can you bash your thumb with the hammer whilst inserting small glazing pins. All the glazing sits into a small groove at the top of each opening, and then the glazing beads fit the two long sides and the bottom. As we had carefully removed the glazing beads years ago and kept them all in a safe place, these were already cut to length, so that was a time-saving bonus. The glazing to the roof sits in a groove at the top and at the two sides of the opening, and then at the bottom it's retained from sliding out with two small plastic clips held in place by two fiddly pins, and again affords another opportunity to smash your thumb with the hammer. Lindsay are cleaning her new pride and joy. And here, cleaning it before I've even screwed the thing together. I did tell you she was excited. Here I'm screwing the roof vents to the hinges and mounting style, along with glazing it and installing the roof stay. And there's a better view of the retaining clips I was talking about earlier. Ideally, I should have hung these two roof vents before I started glazing the greenhouse. I made it slightly awkward for myself to gain access to the ridge again. And after 77 videos on this channel, finally I don't have to do my own camera work. I wonder if I could talk Lynn into doing the editing too. These small triangular glazing pieces are a little bit tricky to fit. But where there's a will, there's a way. Or alternatively, hit it with an hammer. And eventually, we're fully glazed. Now it's time to fix the hinges to the door and hang the door in the frame. Here I'm using the beehive storage unit I made last year to rest the door on. Then offer the door up into the opening and attach the hinges. After all those years of keeping this thing in storage, the only thing we couldn't find was the handle, so we'll have to go shopping for one of them, but unfortunately I didn't have time. And the final piece to install is the finial at the end of the ridge. Finally, I fitted a stay to the door. This is so we can keep the door open and help with the airflow through the greenhouse. In the greenhouse we installed a thermometer, and there's another of my earlier projects. That's it, finished, tidied. Happy wife, happy life.